So today I'm actually going to be timing myself because I am on a time crunch. I had to stop recording the first time and actually go get a different SD card because I am new to this whole YouTube thing. My last video I did, which you guys should check out, which is a spring lookbook. The quality of it was awful. I changed the settings on my camera, and then I was also informed that I was using the wrong memory card, so I went out and bought a new memory card, and now I'm here. So this video is all about long distance relationships and how I'm successful in my long distance relationship and what we do to make it work. And yes, so a lot of people ask me or tell me, like, they talk to me like, well, do you guys see each other? Like, oh my goodness, I don't think it's gonna work. Like, I've had a couple people tell me that they don't think it's gonna work, and it's kind of annoying when people say that because it's like, you don't know my life, you don't know what I do to make my relationship work, and you don't know me like that. You're trying to tell me something's not going to work or it is going to work. But what I can say and will do is kind of get you into the mix of what we do to make our long distance relationship work, and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so number one, the best thing that you can do in any relationship, even if you're not in a long distance relationship, is to communicate. Oh my God, like, I cannot stress that enough. Communication is number one key in any kind of relationship. If you're in long distance or not, communicating is great. Always say what's on your mind at the time. Now, one way to do that is to say it in a manner where it's not going to hurt the person's feelings or it's not going to make that person upset. Because sometimes you can bring up a topic and you can say it in a way that could kind of tick somebody off. Like when your friend says something to you like, oh, you look kind of fat in that dress. Instead of saying it like that, you want to kind of bring it up like, babe, I'm not a big fan of that dress. You know, like, you got to try to change it up to make it a bit, like, to make it better. So when we're communicating with us, like, I'll say, babe, I really hate when you say that word to me, or like, I really hate when you say this way to me. When you let the person know right then and there how you feel, it literally helps so much, because if you're keeping that bottled up and then letting it explode at the end of the day, you're going to suffer, like, for real. It's going to suck, and then your next the next conversation you have, it turns into an argument, and that's something that we had to keep working on, because in the beginning of our relationship, in the beginning of when we actually started talking, we had some rough communication skills, and we literally practiced on how to say stuff to each other so that we know, like, okay, if I say that to her, that affects her, or if I say that to him, that affects him. So you really need to figure out some ways and strategies. Of course, it's not going to work out right away. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, you know, 100% perfect in the beginning. It's not going to work out that way. You really have to figure out that person, really listen to what that person's tone of voice. And I guess because of my degree with human communication, I've been studying and practicing this for a few, like, years now. But you really want to make sure, as far as like your tone, your gestures, all of that adds up to how the person feels about you. I wanted to make sure I was still recording because I had a little issue earlier. But really what you want to do is make sure that you are not upsetting the person, and make sure that everything is really going well. So communication, key. Say what you got to say right then and there. Use a good tone. Have a good attitude. Stop trying to put all this and all that in your voice when you're talking to somebody, and the volume of your voice also shows how angry you are as well. If you're trying to get loud like this and have a conversation, it's not going to work, because a lot of times a man or a woman, when you're yelling at them, they're not listening to you, especially a man, because I can, from a woman's, like, just for me, like, being a woman, I can see that women, we do tend to get like too much attitude, too much neck popping, and too much snapping, and we get too much volume in our voice to where we're like, and making the person get annoyed, and it's like, B, you're nagging me, so I'm really not going to listen to you. So one way, like, I can't really speak for a guy, but as far as like for a guy, I don't really know. For a guy, I don't know what makes them get to that point where they want to get loud and stuff, because I'm not a guy. I don't really know. But for a girl, you can't be doing all that attitude stuff. You can't let your volume get out of control, and stop trying to be somebody's boss. You know, when it comes to communication, good tone, good gestures. Say stuff the right way. Don't say it so rudely. Don't say it so like a way that it can hurt somebody's feelings. You know what I mean? You really have to think about this stuff. Number 2 is you need time. You really need to make time for your man or your woman, okay? Don't be sitting there talking about, I gotta hang with the boys tonight. Because in a long distance relationship, you can hang with your boys. Oops. You can hang with your boys anytime because you see your boys every day. You see your girls. You can see your girls any day. You can see your boys any day because you stay in the same state. You know what I'm saying? Like, you stay around the corner from each other. When you're in a long distance relationship, you don't stay anywhere near this person. For me, for example, my boyfriend lives all the way in Delaware and I live in Florida, and I looked up the distance one time just because that's the stuff we do, and we stay 1,000 miles away from each other. Literally 1,000 miles. It said 1,000 point something miles away from each other if we were driving. So that lets you know that you need to you need to find time. Whenever you have free time is when we like to communicate. We like to talk on the phone. Just a little example, whenever I'm on break, on my 15-minute break, I'll call him, and because he's not at work yet, so I'll call him, we'll talk on the phone for my 15-minute break. I'll go back in, I call him on my second break, and he does the same thing when he's at work, you know, depending on if I'm at school or if he's at school. It just depends. But we work out a schedule to make sure that we have time for each other, because that is number 2 important thing. Like, you really need to have time for that person. If you don't have any time and you're like, oh, I want to go hang out with my friends, or I have a lot of homework to do, and you're not actually sacrificing your time for the person that you so-called have strong feelings for, or you actually are falling in love with this person, then they're going to have trust issues. That's when the trust issues start to come into play. And that's when people have a problem with being in a long distance relationship, because they always say, well, I can't trust the person. Well, you can't trust the person because you're not finding that time, and then you're not communicating as well with that person enough to build up a good trust. So that comes into number 3, where you really need to, with finding time, you really need to find things that are good for you guys to do. Now, I'm not gonna go into the whole, like, if you are sexually active and like going to what you could do, because that's not, no, I'm not talking about that at all, like what you can do to make the sexual stuff happen, because that's not really, that's what you would prefer. That's something that you would have to have like a conversation with your boyfriend or girlfriend as to what y'all want to do to keep that sexual stuff exciting. But as far as like just doing fun things, we have movie night. And what we do is, I'll pop it up on the TV, because when you have a smart TV, sometimes you have apps that you can choose from. Netflix is one of the apps that I have on the TV. So we look at Netflix on the TV, he looks at Netflix on his computer, and we'll watch a movie together as we're Skyping or FaceTiming. So we'll do that to keep, you know, that's one thing that we do. Another thing that we do to keep up the good conversation is finding questions online. It sounds so lame. Don't get me wrong, it sounds really lame, but let me tell you, it works, okay? Because when you look up questions, you can actually find like so many different questions that you've never would have even thought to ask. And then when you ask that one question can start into a whole new big conversation. And so with that big conversation, you'll find out so much stuff that you thought you knew about this person that you really didn't know. And so that actually can form like a really good communicating skill as well, because you are asking questions and you're getting like, you're finding out information about this person. And that's how you really get to like know the person even better, is by asking these random questions that you never would have thought of. One question that I know we asked was like, you know, what's the scariest thing that you've ever did, or like what's ever happened to you before, whatever. And he told me a really scary story that happened to him, and I was like, yo, that was literally like scary, like that was scary, like I would have been scared out of my mind, you know. Stuff like that kind of sparks up conversation, and you start building up more questions from that one question. Like, dang, like what did y'all do next? What did your mama do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that really does like start up a whole new conversation, and that becomes an exciting conversation. As far as anything else, to be very honest, all of those other things start to come into play. You really, when it comes to time, you need to adjust you need to find time and schedule to actually see the person in person. So he's been here twice to Florida. We actually tried to do the whole rotation thing. It didn't come as planned because I am a single mom. I go to school. It is kind of hard for me to like find time to actually do that. But the second time that we were going to see each other, I was actually supposed to go up there, but then my sister actually passed the weekend of the trip. So he was like, no worries. He came down here. He actually spent a lot of money on that ticket, and he came down here to come be with me at that time because I was very weak, you know. I wanted to stay in the bed the whole time, but he actually came here and we had a good time. Even though it wasn't the greatest time, it was a good time. So he helped me with that and dealing with that situation, and that to me right there was like another thing that kind of showed me like, oh my god, like this person really does love me, because he spent that much money on a ticket to come see me. And you know, we canceled all our plans that we were supposed to do when I was supposed to go to Delaware, and he actually sat there and did all that for me. Another big question is, you know, how do you know this person is right for you, and how do you know if the connection's there, blah blah blah. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not super duper religious. I don't like to label myself as a Christian or whatever, because I don't go by the Bible completely, and I don't feel like it's right for me to say that I'm a Christian when I don't follow the Christian, like as a Christian I don't follow the Bible completely, you know what I mean? So to me, I do believe in God though, strongly believe in him, and I believe in the Holy Spirit, and I believe that it can take over your body, the Holy Spirit, and it could move you and guide you to the right path in life. I always try to think positive and not negative about things, and try to, my positive side is God guiding me to the right path. So one day I was in my house and God literally came to me, and like I could feel it when the whole, so where I left off at because my camera does this thing where like it will stop recording, and I can tell it stopped recording because the shutter will like close. So I really don't know where I was at in my story. But usually when you do longer videos, sometimes that happens. Sometimes you need to take a pause of your camera and restart it and do like another clip, because it will shut down on you. I've noticed that, and I'm learning, guys, as I go apparently. So any hoot, basically just to kind of end up the whole story of what I was saying before my timer goes out on me. I have like a minute to say what I gotta say. So basically, like I was saying, the Holy Spirit just came upon me and told me that this was the right guy for me. Like I said before, I wasn't really looking for a relationship. I was not into the whole relationship thing. I was like, single for life. Yes, honey, no men allowed. Like I was just kind of in that moment because I went through quite a bit in my past relationships, and I just was like, I really cannot stand being in a relationship anymore. Like I don't want it. So my friend introduced, she said, you know, there's this guy that, she was like, I have a friend that I think would be perfect for you. And then when she told me he was in Delaware, I was like, Delaware? Okay, so you do know I'm in Florida, right? Okay, that part. So she was like, yes, he's really great, he's really nice, blah blah blah. So, you know, at that time I was really like not into it. I was like, yeah, right, this is not about to work. But then God literally told me that this was the one for me, and I need to work hard at being with him. And once God gave me that little, like that whole moment that I had, that connection that I had with God, and with the Holy Spirit like hovering over me and trying to tell me like, this is it, you gotta keep pushing because this is the one for you. Like I've never been happier. I'm always smiling now. Usually in my pictures I'm not smiling as much, but I'm always smiling. I'm so much more confident. I'm so much more motivated. Like everything is perfect now. Like not perfect, but I will say everything in this relationship is great. And I get so excited when I talk about him. Like I miss him. Like we actually have a connection, and we cannot wait to be together all the time, because it's just like so amazing, and how God was right. Like, oh my God. Hello. As I'm done. So yeah. So that's basically my tips and advice on, you know, being in a long distance relationship. I've really worked hard at it, and it took me some time to really have any confidence and faith in it, and it's working great. So if you want to see more videos, I want to get an update on the whole long distance, if you have any personal questions, I will leave my email below, and just go ahead and get back at me with that. Also, like I said, look at my other videos that I have. The quality, like I said, isn't that great, but I'm working on it and it's getting better. So keep watching, subscribe, like, go on my social media sites, and check everything out in the description bar below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.